It's time for Delezie Raid.
We finally get to fight the Plague Apostle himself. This raid is actually pretty easy if everyone knows what they're doing. This is because Plague Reversal, or the Tab key, makes most bosses trivial, such that you might see less than half of all the gimmicks in the raid. In order to make this guide less bloated, I'll mostly be focusing on strategy and only tell you about patterns that you will realistically see. I will be skipping over trivial patterns. If you want to go into more detail, you could also check out the guides made by Sikrena, Grim, and DFO Archive. I will link their guides in the description. I already made a video about recommended gear and strength, but to summarize, try to have around upper 76k or lower 77k fame. Not sure if anyone will take any lower than that. Most leads will check to make sure that you have the best pet, the best aura, and the best title. And then they'll check to see if you have mostly or all distinct fusion stones here. For buffers, if you check your buff enhancement level right here, you want to have at least 24,000 attack, I think. Make sure you check this in a Legion or a Raid channel, because if you check in a regular channel and you have Neo Premium contract, this number is going to be artificially higher. So make sure you don't lie to yourself. Really quick, for the Master Delezie raid events, this is my character screenshot, and here's my Explorer Club screenshot. Links will also be in the description. Now, let's begin the raid. This is what the map looks like when you first enter. When you begin, you must first defeat the 3 sub-bosses of the raid: Ladina, Verde, and Elid. After you defeat them, the main bosses of their respective regions will take more damage. After you finish those 3 main bosses, you fight Salgeifer in the middle. In the meantime, you need to protect the 4 cities from being destroyed, otherwise you lose a lot of time to finish the raid. Also, party leaders can use the tilde key to move to any spot on the map. One of the main mechanics of the raid is the ambush system. Some bosses will move, designated by a red arrow. If a party moves into a spot where a boss will arrive, the arrow will turn green. And when the boss arrives, you ambush the boss, giving you a few seconds to damage them for free. I will now give you an example of what routing looks like. Red needs to fight the enhanced sub-boss, while yellow and green choose the other 2 sub-bosses. When you enter, the buffer should use Third Awakening to immediately kill them as soon as possible. After all 3 parties are finished, the map might look something like this. One boss is likely to have already attacked a city, and a second boss is about to or is already attacking a second city. This is where every party leader needs to be flexible and adapt to whatever is going on. If possible, a party should move to ambush a boss like Yellow Party does here. You can also bait a boss out of a city by defeating a trash boss, like here. The boss will have an icon showing which boss will be lured out. In this example, this trash boss will lure out Mahnarval. Now, I wish I could say routing is as simple as 3 parties luring and ambushing the 3 bosses, but it's not that simple. Every now and then, these bombs will spawn, and if they are not dealt with quickly, they will decrease your raid time. These bombs also give you life tokens and extra consumable counts, so beating them is always a good thing. Ideally, you have the green party wait around to deal with the first bomb before luring out the 3rd boss. Another thing you can do is have green party lure out a boss from a city, ambush that boss, then retreat. A boss will stay in that spot for a few minutes before attacking another city, so this way you can basically stall out bosses while you deal with bombs that spawn. Whatever the case, make sure you follow the raid lead, and if 1 bomb blows up, it's not the end of the world. Just try not to let 2, or dare I say 3 bombs blow up. Another routing example I saw during week 3 went like this. One party ambushes the first main boss, while the others fight 2 sub-bosses. After some time, green ambushes one other boss, and red lures out the boss yellow was fighting, so that yellow is free to fight the bombs. In this example, red also retreats after ambushing to lure out this other boss here. Alright, now let's go over some boss gimmicks. For the 3 sub-bosses, you should be strong enough to blow them up before you see any major gimmicks, and if anyone on your party has a tab ready, use it to stop them from moving around. We'll start with our first sub-boss, Whispering Ladina. Your character will either have a yellow aura or a green aura. Depending on what you have, it allows you to interact with the yellow or the green orbs around the map. For her main pattern, she will have a colored orb around her, and you must change it to the opposite color by jumping into her if you also have that opposite color. You need to do this 5 times. By the way, I have never seen this pattern in a real raid, and I had to do solo mode just to see it. Ideally, just kill her as soon as possible, and you can ignore most of her gimmicks. Now let's go over Elid. Elid moves around a lot, so if you decide to tab, make sure you don't miss. After some time, Elid will charge and have a bar above his head. Attack him in order to stop him. After the second time you stop him, he will drop his mask and he will begin his main pattern when you pick it up. After he stomps the ground, 4 clones will spawn. You must destroy the correct clone to finish the pattern. You can tell which clone is the correct one if there is a green pillar of light when you approach it. This is to remind you what the green pillar of light looks like. If you kill the wrong clone, this is what happens. Yeah, you die. Now let's go over Verde. For her main pattern, she will spawn orbs from the ground. You need to touch the yellow orb and then auto attack it to send it to her. Do this 4 times and that's pretty much it. She's really easy. Now, let's get into the first of the main bosses, Mahnarval. And I probably should have mentioned this earlier, but when the boss's eyes turn red, you can tab them to get a nice damage phase. For the earlier bosses, it doesn't really matter, but from here on out, it's gonna matter sometimes. Many bosses, including Mahnarval, have these giant red circle attacks, and you're supposed to jump to avoid them. Don't do what I do here. I couldn't decide whether to jump or move out of the way. A lot of his gimmicks involve these green circles. If you are moving while it passes you, it will damage you. You need to be standing still while you let it pass. Here's another example of how to navigate past the green lines. If an ally gets chained like this, the other player that also has chains attached to them must try to run out of the circle twice in order to free the ally. There's also this pattern where he tries to suck you in, but stay close by because he will attack the outside area right afterwards. This gimmick tries to trick you. After a few seconds, he will suck you back into the middle of the circle. Just keep moving and you'll dodge easily. Mahnarval also has an attack that stuns you. Make sure you bring Remy's Sparkling Touch with you to cure it. Hopefully your brother knows how to use Cure if you don't have it. If you don't cure the stun, you're going to die. Alright, now let's go over his main pattern. You need to stay in the middle of the screen while being pushed out. You also have to get past the green lines. If anyone gets stuck in the dark area outside the circle, the pattern fails. If anyone has a tab ready, you can use it here when his eyes turn red to save your allies stuck outside, and also get a damage phase. Hopefully no one needed to be saved and you succeed in the pattern anyways, you get a damage phase right here. If for some reason someone still has their tab, his eyes turn red at the end of this, like right here, you can use your tab to get a more damage phase if you want. Alright, now let's fight Largo. Just a few things to watch out for. For one, he slashes at certain areas of the screen. Avoid the colored parts of the screen. Whenever he creates clones of himself that look like he's raising his cloak, make sure you look away, otherwise you will get damaged. The last thing to look out for is when he has a deep purple circle around him. When this happens, you must counter hit him with a normal attack. Once in a while, one of the counter hits will have you clash with Largo. Just keep pressing your normal attack key. By the way, the normal key to press here is X, but I switched my normal attack to C. Sorry about the confusion. For his main pattern, he will have a bar at the bottom. You must successfully counter hit and clash with him 3 times. If you happen to use tab here, it will stun him and also fill up 1 success as well. One thing you have to be careful of during this is when he has a neon outline and a red circle under him. You might think you have to be close to counter hit, but he will send shockwaves on the ground that you must jump over. If you have a tab, you should use it here so that idiots like me won't die to the shockwaves. Now, let's go over Rubra. There are 2 main things to watch out for. When she drops a feather on the ground, someone needs to pick it up, otherwise it will damage a large area around it. When you see the green feathers, walk to it and press attack to dive into Rubra. During her main pattern, orbs will appear and attach themselves to 2 players. They need to guide the orb to the circles on the ground, then use the green feather that appears to dive into Rubra. Take note that one circle will appear near the top and the other near the bottom, so the 2 players must separate themselves accordingly. After 2 cycles, all 4 players will have an orb, and the circles are in each corner. Make sure to spread yourselves out. If you dive on her 6 times, you'll get a damage phase. Also, for the love of God, please pick up the feathers, it hurts! Oh my god! Anyway, the general strategy for these 3 bosses is, if awakenings are ready, use it on ambush, and everyone should also use tab to do increased damage. If awakenings are not ready, save tab for when I told you to do so. If you finish a main pattern, and awakenings are ready, everyone uses tab with awakenings. I just want to go over the trash mobs really quick. If you have tab, use just 1 tab to deal with them. The person who tabs is determined by party order. So, if player 1 has it, he tabs. If he doesn't have it, whoever is next down the line uses it. Like player 2 next, then player 3, and so on. Just in case you don't have tab for the trash mobs, they're all still very easy. However, for this trash boss that summons mist, you want to counter hit a few times so that the mist goes away. Then you can damage him normally. Take note of the dark purple circle just like Largo. Now, let's see how we can deal with Salgeifer. He has 2 phases. If you get his HP to 60%, he will kick you out and another party must go in to fight phase 2. The goal of phase 1 is to tab when his eyes turn red. Then, everyone uses their 3A, all your tabs, and then blow him up as soon as possible. He is most likely to do this after a certain pattern, and I will show you. When he says struggle, he is getting ready to do one of his many patterns. During this pattern, you will be slowed down and get a green gauge next to you. It fills up if you don't move, and goes down if you move around. You must be constantly moving, otherwise you'll be frozen in place and cannot act. Additionally, you must stay inside the circles when you can, otherwise you will take damage over time. After this specific variation of the struggle pattern, one player will be given a green tether to Salgeifer. Run into him to decrease his neutralization gauge a little bit. Here are a few other variations to the struggle pattern. Remember to always be moving and stay in the circles when you can. Another thing to watch out for. When green orbs with a casting bar above them appear, you need to jump to avoid damage. So now, let me tell you when his eyes will go red. When the struggle casting bar goes down, there's a high chance he will follow up with red eyes. At this point, everyone needs to use tab to knock him down and to maximize damage, and then use 3A to blow him up. Here's another example. Wait for the struggle gauge to go down, and then, if he has red eyes, tab, destroy him. Oh, whoops. Please don't mind my typo. I was trying to say, if you're somehow not able to kill Salgeifer at this point, usually the raid lead will tell you to retreat and have another party finish phase 1 off. Keep in mind though, that if no one is fighting him for a few seconds, he begins to recover health, so the entering party must get in quickly. Just in case though, I will show you his main pattern. For some reason, no one I've partied with can get this part right, so I'm going to use solo footage for reference. All party members will be trapped in 4 orbs, and when the pattern starts, one person will be freed. They will have a circle around them that will keep them safe, but it shrinks as time goes on. You need to free every party member by bumping into their orbs. Bump them one time and white lines will appear to damage you. Move away, and when you bump them a second time, you will free that party member if they were there. And you get a brand new circle. Keep doing this until everyone is freed. Two things to keep note of. You don't want to free everyone too quickly because otherwise the safe circles will run out. So my recommendation is to bump once to get the white lines out of the way, then wait until your circle is almost out before bumping a second time to get a new circle. The second thing to note is that the order you should save your teammates in depends on the danger areas closing in on you. In this example, the danger area comes from the top, so you have to save the top teammate first. Then, the danger area comes from the right, so you have to save the right teammate next. I want to show you an example of what not to do. At first everything starts fine. I correctly go to the left because the danger area is coming from the left. I wait for my circle to disappear and I free my teammate. The issue here is my teammate doesn't wait and immediately frees a teammate here. And here people are starting to die. And when you die you lose your circle, and then in that case no one can stay safe. If you die you cannot complete the pattern, and I'll show you exactly how and why. So in this case I use my first awakening to at least survive this part so I don't die. When Salgeifer clears things up, you will have a black tether attached to you. Can you see that? The black white line right there? You get that tether if you survive that pattern. So if you have the tether, walk towards Salgeifer and you can complete the pattern. But my teammates didn't survive, so they don't have the tether. We don't succeed in this pattern. At 60% HP, you will have cleared phase 1 and he will start to kick you out. You can still damage him a little bit right here, but a new party has to come in. Phase 2 has some similar patterns, like the struggle mechanic, but he has a few new ones too. The main one are these circles. If the circles are white, you can walk right through them, but if they're green, they will damage you. You also need to stay inside sometimes, otherwise you might take some damage. You can start to leave the circle when the insides start to turn green. Another pattern to take note of are when he spawns some clones. You see the white circles on them, just basic attack them, get rid of them. Sometimes he'll also combine the struggle mechanic with destroying the clones, so just keep moving, basic attack when you can. Let me tell you what an ideal run looks like. After the first circles gimmick, he will have a casting bar that says Malefic Energy Overflow. He will have red eyes here, and everyone should tab and 3A, 1A, whatever, blow him up. Just in case you missed the first try, always keep watch of when he says Malefic Energy Overflow. This always happens after a struggle pattern. Use these opportunities to finish him off. If you can't finish phase 2 before his main pattern goes off, tell your raid so that you can leave and another party finishes him off. This section is getting way too long, so if you want to know how his main pattern works, check out another guide. You're almost never going to see this in a real run. Now let's go over phase 2. Keep note that all of your skills, awakenings and all, will reset, so don't be afraid to use awakenings to finish off Salgeifer. Anyways, phase 2 is a little more structured. Red Party's job is simple. Fight all 4 phases of Delezie and end the raid. Green and Yellow need to take care of the bosses on the perimeter. There are also Plague Seeds, which will allow you to ambush bosses. Then you got Trash Mobs, which ideally you don't interact with. And then there is Hosdig, who kinda just lingers there for a while. The raid progresses like this. Red Party needs to defeat Delezie's first form, and in order for him to progress to his next form, Yellow and Green parties need to defeat one of the outer bosses. Delezie will absorb the defeated boss and move on to the next phase based on which boss he absorbed. Keep doing this until Delezie absorbs all 3 bosses, and then you defeat Delezie's final form to end the raid. Keep in mind that Delezie has a total of 3 absorbed forms, but you get to skip one because the last boss you absorb will be the final phase of Delezie, regardless of who he actually absorbs. This example route will skip Spider Delezie because he's the most confusing boss. Red Party's job is easy, just fight Delezie, but Yellow and Green need to strategize. Green will fight Wailing and use 3A on her. In the meantime, Yellow will fight the right seed. When Yellow defeats the seed, Calamity and Hosdig will both attack the place where the seed was. Yellow fights the top seed and allows Calamity and Hosdig to clash, or to fight each other. This keeps them occupied, the boss won't spawn trash mobs, and the boss will receive 15% more damage per clash. After Yellow defeats the top seed, they will ambush Wailing and finish her off with 3A. This is usually a non-issue, but if either Delezie or an outer boss is defeated, there is a timer for about 2 minutes. In this case, an outer boss is defeated, and if Delezie does not die within the timer, the boss will respawn. This also works vice versa. So make sure all parties are doing fine and can kill in a reasonable amount of time. Otherwise, hold your boss's HP to around 5% and wait until everyone is ready to kill their boss. Anyways, continuing on, when Delezie begins his next phase, Green fights Demise, and Yellow again fights the right seed to have the boss and Hosdig clash. Then, Yellow fights a left seed to ambush Demise, but make sure your 1A or 3A is ready when the ambush happens. I think you guys get the idea now. Green attacks Calamity next, and then Yellow uses the right seed to ambush, and so on. Note that if you ambush a boss before Hosdig gets there, he will back off. When Red gets to the final phase of Delezie, you will notice a red bar at the top to show Delezie's final HP. Green and Yellow must defeat Hosdig before Delezie reaches 50%. Otherwise, Delezie will absorb Hosdig and recover however much HP was left. The recommendation for Green and Yellow parties are for Green to complete one gimmick from Hosdig, then use Awakenings to do as much damage as possible. Then, Yellow destroys the seed to ambush and finish Hosdig off as soon as possible. So this route is considered the safe strategy because it gives weaker parties the most efficient opportunities to clear. Stronger parties can get away with skipping a few steps, but whatever the case, follow what the raid lead says. If for some reason you need to fight trash mobs, you can one-shot them with Tab. If you don't have Tab, these mobs are actually really hard. Remember, only one person needs to Tab, and go in party order. Player 1 first, player 2 next if they have it, and so on. Plague Seed bosses are also very easy. Party leads will tell you to relay Tab, which means go in party order and tab one at a time to stagger the boss. When the boss gets up, the next person tabs. So in this example, player 4 accidentally uses Tab, only player 2 was supposed to. But if you waste a Tab, don't worry, it's not a big deal, please don't flame your teammates. Ideally, you only need 2 tabs to kill these bosses. In this case, after the second one, you will have them neutralized and you should be able to kill them from here. Also, when you kill a seed, you clear the map of all of the trash mobs. Look at a comparison, like this. Depending on how many trash mobs you cleared, you get a portion of your tab back. Now let's get into boss gimmicks. We will start with Wailing, Demise, and Calamity. Wailing will be the first boss that Yellow and Green fight. Her fight will be pretty simple because everyone will have their third awakenings by this point, so she should blow up pretty easily. If you fight her without an ambush, make sure you relay your tabs, and in party order 1 through 4. If you ambush her, and hopefully you have 3A or 1A, everyone tabs to get max damage. By the way, if you knock her down with Tab a few times, her armor falls off. Enjoy your pixels. One of the main things to look out for is this eardrum rupture mechanic. If you have this bar over your head, and you get hit by or interact with anything else that gives another stack of an eardrum mechanic, you and everyone around you will take a lot of damage. If you see a red orb with a red circle, you must pick it up, otherwise it will explode. Keep in mind that this gives an eardrum rupture stack, so you must either wait for your eardrum rupture bar to go away, or have a teammate pick it up that doesn't have an eardrum rupture stack. Ideally, each member picks up 1 orb each. Another pattern here is where she drops swords on you. Make sure you spread out the swords because they will explode in an area around them later. For one of her main patterns, she will tether everyone to the middle. Every member must leave the circle to complete the pattern, but if one person leaves, everyone gets an eardrum rupture stack. So, ideally, your party leaves 1 at a time, in party order 1 through 4. The rest of her pattern should be very easy to figure out first try. Alright, let's go over Demise now. So, if you don't ambush him, same thing as Wailing, tab, relay. If you're ambushing him, use your awakenings, use all your tabs, do as much damage as possible. I'll be only going over his main pattern since his normal attacks should be very simple. If you happen to have a tab at the end of his main patterns, you can tab the red eyes. First main pattern is Death. Note that there is a party member that has a green and a purple orb above his head. You want all of the orbs that appear to be green, and in order to change the color of the orbs, you have to walk into the circle that's beneath their feet. Notice how the orb keeps changing colors as someone walks into their area or not. Now, make sure there's also not too many people in the same area. Notice how there's only one orb this time, and there are 2 people in the circle. So the orb, in this case, is purple. I need to move out of the area to turn the orb green again. Finally, there will be orbs that spawn in the middle. If the orb is green, leave it alone. If it's purple, someone needs to step inside. Again, the orbs need to be green to finish the pattern. So here I got tricked. I saw the orb was purple, so I went to wait inside. Turns out I didn't need to, and we failed the pattern. Now let's go over Famine. You'll notice that you have a little gauge that looks like a stomach next to your character. If it goes all the way down, that means you take damage. So in order to replenish it, you have to eat the food that's on the ground. The player with the yellow ring needs to run into the tornadoes in order to spawn some food on the ground. This guy in our party clearly does not know how to do that, but some food spawns later anyway, so it's okay. For the next phase, you have to counter hit these things that come out of the ground, and you'll get more food this way. Near the end, there'll be a giant head, and you just have to auto-attack it, or you can even use regular attacks to send the head the other way. Now, let's go over Plague. Someone will grab the yellow ring and wait a bit on each blue circle to clear it out. Other party members need to stay in the yellow circle to avoid the bugs jumping around. Pretty simple. Now let's go over War. This one's pretty simple. All you have to do is to look for the safe areas. You'll also note that the walls that do not have eyes on them will slide over, so you have to keep moving, find the new safe zones constantly. Near the end of the pattern, you'll notice these yellow holes that you can hide in. If you have a tab though, you can use it right here to stop the pattern. Alright, now let's go over Calamity. Same things as the other bosses. If you have your Awakening and you don't have Ambush, relay your tabs, stagger one by one. If you do ambush her, well, just use Third Awakening, use your tabs, do as much damage as possible. Otherwise, you can save your tabs for when she has red eyes. When you see 2 players have Disgust on them, they both need to move away to avoid taking damage. Dude, what is this guy doing? We end up taking damage, but don't do that. There's also a version where it says couple. You have to stand next to each other to avoid taking damage. You'll also notice a lot of webs on the map. If you walk past one of the web threads, it will explode after a few seconds. If you want to avoid damage, you can also bounce on the walls for invincibility. When in doubt, just bounce on a wall, you'll be fine. Let's go over her main patterns. The first is green light, red light. It's pretty much just like the game. You must stop moving before the screen turns red, otherwise you will be trapped. To be honest, you don't have to move whatsoever if you don't want to. This way, you won't activate the threads, and there's no threat of you failing. You can use attacks if you want, but make sure you don't use any attacks or skills that move your character around. Next is the crane game. All party members except one must go in the circles to be attached to the ceiling. The last member must use the threads to try to free the teammates. Have fun! May RNG be with you. The last main pattern is hide and seek. She will spawn a rock and you need to hide behind it. The safe area will move a little bit, so make sure you react accordingly. Now let's go over Hosdig. If you don't ambush him, try to finish his gimmick before you use your awakenings. If you ambush him, use awakenings and tabs immediately and ignore his gimmick. Both of his gimmicks start similarly. You need to jump inside his arms to begin. There is a 500 version and a 12 version. For the 500 version, you need to kill transparent mini Hosdigs. They're a little bit hard to see, so this is what it looks like. You may also notice that there is a bar above your head. If you stay in a room too long, you will be stunned for a little bit, so just move rooms every now and then. If you have a hard time looking for them, they also leave a little yellow trail that can also help you out. For the 12 version, you still want to hit the mini Hosdigs around the map to light up the room. This time though, you were looking for a stationary Hosdig that is glowing red. Now, let us go over Delezie and his 5 different forms. Remember, you only really fight 4 of them, and you skip one of them depending on which of the 3 bosses you killed last. The main strategy is to relay tab and to keep them knocked down, and use awakenings as soon as you enter. Remember, go in party order. The main thing you need to focus on is the direction of the wind. The beginning of the fight will tell you which direction it blows, but you can also see the wind blowing towards one side. Depending on the direction, you need to stay on the opposite side of Delezie. Think of it like this. Delezie carries plague on his body. If the wind is blowing east or to the right side, he is spreading disease to the right. So you have to be on his left to avoid it. Vice versa if the wind is blowing west. You will notice that there are 5 skulls on your character. The skulls will fill up if you are on the wrong side of Delezie and are catching disease. If it fills up, you will turn into a zombie and need to hit Delezie 2 times to transform back. Ideally, just avoid turning into a zombie. It's really hard to deal with. You will also periodically see purple orbs on the map. You need to collect them, otherwise they'll blow up in a giant AoE. Keep in mind that if you collect 1 purple orb, you will get 1 skull. Make sure that your gauge is low before you start collecting the purple orbs. You will also see rings on the ground. They must be cleared by walking through them when you have a red attack targeting you. After the ring is destroyed, a purple orb will appear and you need to collect those 2. For his main pattern, he will shoot 3 lasers starting from the top. Then you will have this shield looking thing on your character, and you must collect at least 3 orbs to survive the AoE at the end. If you turn into a zombie here, you have to start over. Now let's go over Wrath of Wailing, aka Knight Delezie, aka Mr. Counter Hit. Your tab timing will depend on whether or not you have awakenings ready. There will be white shadows of Delezie. This usually telegraphs where he is going to teleport to, and at that point, use auto attacks to counter him. If you are using your awakenings, everyone should tab after any counter hit to do more damage so that you can neutralize him. If your awakening isn't active, I suggest only 1 player tab at each counter hit. You cannot tab to knock him down normally. Regardless, focus on counter hitting him. He takes twice as much damage when he's knocked down like that. Now, he does have special gimmicks if you don't counter hit him, but dude, just get it right. Focus on where his white shadow is and prioritize counter hitting. In terms of dodging his attacks, he kind of foretells where his attacks will be like 2 seconds in the future. For example, this is a safe zone now, and it looks like it's going to be a danger zone now. Wait for his attacks first, then move on to the next safe zone, and so on. Another thing to watch out for is Earth Resonance. Normally, you have to jump to avoid this attack, but at the same time, these gray shields will appear. You must get rid of them by standing in the area when Earth Resonance goes off. If you are standing in the gray circle, Earth Resonance won't hit you, by the way. For his main pattern, you must navigate the darkness. Find the gray shield and stand in it by the time Earth Resonance goes off. This will dissipate the darkness. And you have to find the Delezie's white shadow to counter hit him. Do this a few times to end the pattern. Now let's go over Instinct of Demise, aka press the auto attack key to teleport. You cannot tab to knock him over, so only use tab if you have awakenings to increase your damage. His first attack you cannot jump over, get out of the way. For these purple spheres, you have to avoid them, and then when he punches it, you must go inside. For this section, just avoid the colored area and find the safe zones. You're going to be going back and forth a few times. He'll also send everyone except 1 person into the air. You have to catch your teammates as they fall, otherwise they die. Now for his main patterns. He has 5 of them. They all work similarly though. For the first one, you have to grab these chains. Then you have to grab the cocoon and drag it across so you have enough room to hide behind it. If you need more time to drag it across, collect the purple spheres to give you more time. After some time, hide behind the cocoon and press normal attack to teleport next to him to dodge the next attack. Honestly, just mash the normal attack key. There's a version where you grab the chains and then you have to pull Delezie, and then otherwise it's the same thing. Press the normal attack key afterwards. For the next pattern, you have to jump into the air geyser to slam into the broken floor in the middle. Make sure a teammate is there to catch you. After this, wait on the broken floor and press normal attack. Here's another similar pattern. Jump on the cracked floor to reveal the cocoon, then hide behind it in normal attack. And finally, he summons a large orb that sucks everyone in. Catch your teammate, then get out of the AoE. No one really does Spider Delezie, but in case you do, he has less HP than the other forms. So make sure you have your awakenings up, tab him once, knock him down, and if he's knocked down, everyone else should tab to increase damage and blow him up. And final form Delezie is nice and easy. It's basically a survival mode. I will tell you how to tab when we get there. He will do a few attacks, then he will clash with a party member, and then you get a small damage phase. Rinse and repeat this multiple times. For tabbing, remember party order. Player 1 normally tabs first, but in this case, he is the one trapped and clashing with Delezie. Pay attention to who is clashing because now player 2 has a tab to help player 1. They have to both mash to get damage phase. Poor player 2 missed his tab, so as player 4 I had to step in to help with the clash. Also, if you die, you get trapped in the corner and can only be rescued if a clash is successful. This means you need at least 2 people alive to clear this boss. If for some reason a player isn't tabbing when he should, this means he's either asleep, stupid, or trapped. So wait 2 seconds, and if no one's tabbing, the next person in line should tab. The main thing to look out for are the floating orbs. They damage you if they touch you while they're moving, but when they stop, you must be inside the circle. At the same time, you need to jump on this pattern. Here's another example of the floating orbs. You must trust that you need to be inside the circle. When the casting bar says collapse, don't forget to jump. Here's another tricky one. You must trust that you have to be inside the circle first, then dodge after that. And finally, here's another tricky one. Try to find the safe zones as soon as possible, and also note the order in which the purple areas come in. When Delezie reaches 30% HP, you have to do 3 quick time events. Basically just mash the keyboard, and after that the raid is basically over. All your skills reset, and you just finish them off. Alright, basically that's it. Thank you so much for watching, guys. This guide was really long. I wish I made it shorter, but there's a lot of information, there's a lot of bosses here. My motivation has been waning a little bit. Please give a like and subscribe if you guys enjoy my content and you find this helpful. Please tell me in the comments below. I really appreciate all of you, and I'll see you next time.